And we're back. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Seven Figures or Bust Podcast, the number one podcast in the world for growing your insurance business. This is episode 81. I'm your host, Christian Brindle, joined with my co-host, as always, Glenn Shelton. Good morning, sir. Happy Monday morning. How was the weekend?
The Terrell Owens episode. I'm going to try to come up with an athlete for every episode number.
T.O.?
The T.O. episode. Had a good weekend. Got the Jeep out. There was some sun, so I took the roof off for the first time. Now, believe it or not, I managed to get pulled over on the beach by the sheriff. I had this idea.
You and the police force out there.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it, honestly. I was just like, am I really getting pulled over on the beach right now? Like, what did I do to deserve this? But I had this idea that I thought was brilliant, where I took a snow sled. I tied it to the back of the Jeep, tied it to the snow sled, and I was letting my kids ride on the sled while I was pulling them in the Jeep. I was going like 10 miles an hour, guys. 10 miles an hour. Very, very controlled situation is how I would describe it. Very controlled, as safe as I could make it. But turns out driving on the beach, you have to adhere to the rules of the road, I guess, is how the sheriff explained it to me. So got away. That's my second warning of the year. So no ticket. But yes, managed to get pulled over on the beach. So that was a first.
I too got pulled over this weekend.
You did?
I did.
You got a ticket, didn't you?
No, this was the first time probably since I was a teenager that I got a warning. Incredible. I never get a warning. Yeah. No matter how much of an ass kisser I am, it doesn't seem to help. But this time I did get a warning. So scenario, I'm leaving my neighborhood and I live in a very nice suburban neighborhood, right? Like,
did you roll a stop sign? You rolled a stop sign, didn't you?
I do pretty much every time I leave my house. And so
I knew.
And so I apparently
some doesn't stop for anybody.
Apparently some of my neighbors have been complaining to the police department about me running through the stop signs. It's not that I just run them like you might picture. I come to a stop of sorts. I just don't stop all the way. I slow down, and then
it's called the California roll.
Yes,
there's a term for it.
Yes.
And I believe in it. I'm a believer in the California roll. Yes,
as am I. I mean, And so, in terms of driving, my spirit animal of driving is California.
That's right.
But anyway, so there's a cop, not in a cop car. He's in a normal car. It's like an undercover cop car. You know what I mean? Like those, like they're not a cop, but they're a cop, but they're not in a cop car here, so you can't spot him. He's hanging out in my neighborhood, and he gets me. And, thankfully he gave me a warning, but then he also proceeded to tell me, so my child is in a booster seat now in the car. She's big enough. She's almost 6. She's over 40 pounds. And he said, it's Utah law that she's in a car seat. And I'm like, and I know better than to argue with a cop. So I didn't. But then afterward, I go online and I'm like, if they're over 40 pounds, they can be in a booster seat. So I'm like, did he just not see the booster seat? I'm like, does he not know the law? I'm like, what's the deal here? So now I'm engaging in a debate with my wife over if we need to get a giant ass car seat for a 6-year-old or not. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm like, it's not even the law. So
what's funny is we're having that same exact debate right now. Fitz is over 40 pounds. He's going to be 5 soon. And he can't stand his car seat anymore. And we made the mistake of letting him sit in a booster seat one time. So he's done. He doesn't want to go back. So,
Yep.
and the thing is, though, because then we had the same debate. What's the rules? What's the law? What's the state law versus like the federal law? So I don't know. What was it? Were you looking at federal rules? Because maybe you're looking at Utah state.
I was looking on the
State
Utah state website, and it was.
We're getting derailed here, though, really fast.
We are. I apologize.
No.
I apologize to the audience.
No, not at all. This is about the story I need more information on. The cop specifically told you that your neighbors had.
He didn't. Okay, he didn't
Yeah,
say it was.
this is the part I need more information on. I don't care about car seats. Okay, that's neither here nor there. I need to hear your neighbors.
To be fair, he did not say that they specifically were calling about me. He said they were getting complaints by the neighbors in the neighborhood that people weren't stopping at the stop sign. Assumingly, they were talking about me because it's every time, whether I'm coming home, whether I'm leaving. Because in my mind, we don't have a police force where I live.
That's true. We've talked about that.
This is the first time I've ever seen a cop pull anyone over in my neighborhood or around my neighborhood. I don't even know if we have a department. If we do, it's like in a closet somewhere in another building. Like, so that like I'm always going 20 over in that area. Like I'm doing everything you're not supposed to do because I'm like, there's no cops here.
Oh my gosh.
It was the first time I got pulled over. But I just can't help but assume it was me. Who else would they be talking about?
I was picturing your neighbors like peeking through the blinds, and they're like, "Yeah, it's that white BMW. I think it's Brindle, Brindle. Yep, rolled the stop sign and went over 30 miles an hour through the neighborhood.
Looks like Mr. Clean. There's always music coming out of the car, bumping."
There's some gangster rap he's listening to. It scares me.
There's a lot of profanity coming from the car insides, coming from the car windows.
Yes. Well, congratulations on getting a warning, though. I do want to say that.
I truthfully don't think I did anything. I think this cop just had pity on me. Because every time I'm always doing the same thing. I'm like, yes, sir. No, sir. I'm like overly respectful. I am quick to hand over my license and registration. This time he asked for my insurance. I quickly pulled it up on the app and showed it to him. I was more than accommodating. And I was very cheery. And, he's like, how old is the little one? I'm like, oh, she'll be 6 in May, sir. She's growing up. Those things probably don't help me. They probably more like,
here's my taxes. Look, I'm a law-abiding citizen.
Like I pay your salary in taxes. I promise to the state.
No, I don't think you'd like that. I don't think that'd be a good one to say.
But yeah. I mean, I've gotten tickets in Florida. I got tickets in Texas. I've gotten many tickets in Utah. Never get a warning. I always ask for one. Usually they're
for one.
Yeah, when they're about to write, they're like when I don't ask for it until they say I'm going to write you a ticket. I'm like, is there any way you can give me a warning? I'm a good guy. Like
yeah, I think I've tried that one before.
I'm like, if you don't ask, it's always no, right? Like that's my mentality.
Yeah,
and I wait until they already have said they're going to do it. Because I feel like if I ask too early, it might come off, what's the equivalent of commission breath for?
Well, no, this is a great point though, is I've been told that certain police departments will have quotas, that these cops will legitimately have quotas to write a certain number of tickets, which I've always thought is crazy. It's like, why would you give them a quote? Like, this isn't a sales team. This isn't like, hey, little Billy, we need to write 10,000 a month in premium. Like this.
Here's my question with this though, because I've heard this as well.
Yeah.
but I don't know if I've ever heard it from like a real credible source. Have you heard it from somewhere where like it's like verifiable, or is it just like hearsay?
Not necessarily, like people who are friends with, like maybe like second degree, so not like from a cop's mouth, but like a second degree to a cop is probably as credible as it's ever been. So but it's probably one of those things where they're setting goals for, I just feel like it gets really convoluted, because then it's like, are they going to start writing tickets for things that maybe they don't need to write tickets for just to try to hit these numbers, right? Like, I don't know.
Maybe so.
I am all about goal setting, but at the same time, for something like enforcing the law, I don't know if we need to set goals for that.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like a real, my stance on that is if it's a real genuine danger to society of what's happening right there. You know,
Right.
like me not coming to a full stop at the stop sign, am I hurting a soul? No.
You're putting us all in danger.
If
All of
anything,
us.
I'm being kind to my brakes.
Oh my gosh.
So like, you know, I appreciate giving me a ticket, but like giving me a ticket for that would be whack. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that would be just ridiculous. But now I'm like watching for the guy because I know what his car looks like now. So like every time I come through, I'm like looking.
Setting up cameras outside. You're like CCTV reviewing the footage.
Before we get into Senator Wyden and his comments, I know we had a bit of a topic we wanted to kind of start the show off with this morning.
Absolutely.
I don't know how deep you want to get into it, but well, screw it. Let's just jump in.
Let's jump in.
Where's the starting point with this?
So, you know, the goal of the podcast is to try to be super topically relevant, right? Like we want to be discussing and providing information about things that are going on in the industry and the space. And one of the things that has come up recently that you may or may not have already seen, or you will potentially see soon, is certain individuals, certain companies who are offering things completely for free to you as an agent and acting like there's no strings attached. Hey, this is completely free. You know, we don't need anything from you. You know, create your account here, you know, take this, etc. Whatever it is that they're offering you. And this is the equivalent of, hey, I have this white unmarked van over here, bag of candy, come jump in. It's just free candy, I promise. You don't know what is going to ultimately end up being the end game here. Maybe it's something simple, like they're just going to be remarketing things to you. Or maybe there's something much bigger going on here. But the main point of bringing this up and having a brief conversation here about it this morning is making sure that you understand you are the product. When something's being given for free to you, you are what is being compensated to the company. Very similar to Facebook, right? Very similar to social media. You can sign up for free. You don't have to pay anything. Wow, this is great. I'm getting access to all of these tools for free. Well, you know, now they're running ads and they're making money on paid ads, and you are essentially driving that revenue for the business. So, you know, curious to hear what your thoughts are on some of this and what you've seen going on, because I know you've seen some of this too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how specific we want to get with this or not.
Yeah, totally up to you.
I'll keep it more general, I suppose. I feel like that is spot on, right? Anytime you're doing anything, anytime somebody is providing, I guess, anything for you, there's something at the end of the day that they want to be getting out of that, right? And I think understanding that is important, because I think there are some people that have a bit of naivete that they're like, oh,
Yes.
wow, you're just trying to bless me. You know, you're laying your hands on me and my leprosy is gone. kind of thing.
and
And that's
Medicare
not
Jesus.
and that's not what it is. Your leprosy is still there. No, just kidding. Just kidding. But I think and it doesn't mean that you can't use a product or service and try to get some value out of it. Like Facebook is a great example, right? Like I believe I've gotten more out of Facebook than I've given to Facebook. Maybe not. I have spent a lot of money on ads. Maybe not.
You have.
You have. And so maybe not. Maybe it's an equal trade-off. But like, I've certainly got my pound of flesh in terms of value from being on the platform.
Right.
So it doesn't mean it's necessarily always going to be bad. In some cases, it might be. It's kind of tough to kind of differentiate, what is real and what's not real.
Well, so
but again, I think one more point I want to make.
Yeah.
I think for agents that are watching this, right? Anything that's geared towards agents, having something you view in mass amounts allows you to be the product. Like look at Medicarians. Every agent in the country is traveling to Medicarians, or not every agent, but a lot of agents are traveling to Medicarians right now. And I've made my stance perfectly clear. It doesn't seem like it matters, but I've made my stance perfectly clear that like there's no content, there's nothing there. It's just you're going to be sold to for 2 or 3 days.
Right.
That's what you're there for.
Right.
That's the purpose of the event. Now, does it mean you can't go and meet someone that can, become a great partnership
Be impactful,
with you?
right?
Yeah, do you find a way to do business with in some capacity? Maybe so.
Networking, right? I mean, there's other people there, but the event itself, I totally agree, is mostly going to be a sales pitch. But here's the scary part to me about what I've seen recently from some of what's been going on. The angle, the pitch, if it's coming at you from this position of I'm doing this for free, I'm investing tens of millions of my own dollars because I want to give back to the agents. I want to help the industry get better. Christian and I will say things in similar fashions, but we're also we never frame it like we're a charity or that we're running a nonprofit. We are running a for-profit business. Our goal is definitely to earn money, to make a profit at the end of the day, end of the year, etc. But when someone's preaching and they're coming at it from this angle of I'm investing tens of millions of dollars and I'm giving this all away for free just because I want to give back, and there's no catch here, just please sign up. To me, that's just like alarm bells, red flags. Like clearly there's an ulterior motive here, and I'm not even saying I know what it is specifically with the most recent situation that I've been seeing shared and promoted. I can't even necessarily tell you exactly what it is. It could be something as simple as they're just trying to get everyone's insurance contracts. It could be, again, it could be something basic. Maybe there's more going on that I don't understand, I don't realize. But again, this is the main reason. Like you said, there are people out there who are so naive that they'll bite that hook right away, hook, line, and sinker. It's this person's just being charitable. They're just investing tens of millions of dollars into the industry because they want to help every agent. They don't want anything. It's like, well, be cautious. Be cautious.
And this is the most recent situation, the one that you're referring to. This is the same person that said they were going to make a insurance form style website to make Facebook groups
obsolete.
Yeah, obsolete. And that was what, like 3-4 years ago? Like, how'd that work out?
That's the giveaway, right?
What a stupid idea.
Yeah.
Clip that. That was a stupid idea. It was dumb.
Jake, clip that. Thank you.
But like, really, right? Like Facebook groups are more powerful today than they've ever been.
For sure.
And I couldn't even tell you that site's name. I don't fucking idea. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah.
And this is the same person that spent ungodly amounts of money being like premium sponsorships at events and things like that, and nobody cares. Nobody still knows about the service. You know, like it's one of those things where it's like, pick a vehicle that actually has potential to do something. Like you put all your energy and effort and resources behind a vehicle that is a loser.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a piece of how I feel about this comes from that part of it too, is seeing the previous failure makes me question what's coming next, right? You know,
cataclysmic failure at that.
That being said, I want to make sure we have enough time to get in today's main topic. Do you have any other thoughts you want to share on?
No, I think we covered it pretty nicely.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this episode sponsor.
Good PSA there. Yes.
Let's talk about this episode sponsor. So guys, this episode is brought to you by the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit. Talking about events briefly a couple of minutes ago. There is no event that you need to go to more than the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit this year. It is I would say, arguably, you could make an argument that it is the only event that is not there to sell you something in the industry going on from now to the end of the year. It is the only event that is bringing people together for 2 days, and to provide you with content, to provide you with resources, to provide you with actionable items with no end goal in mind. And that's the event you should want to be at, and that's the event you should want to support, quite frankly. If you care about value and you care about content, that's the event that you should find a way to make it to in June 22nd through 24th, 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit. Less than 100 tickets remain, and we'd love to see you guys there. We have a jam-packed lineup of speakers you can see for yourself on the website, and we're going deep into the planning phases now at this point in time. And it's
going to be the biggest and best summit yet. I can guarantee it, just based on everything that we've already seen as far as, the speaker lineup that we announced, the number of people that will be there, the sponsors, which again, only a few sponsorships. We already had some of our different sponsorship levels sell out. So if you're looking for sponsorship opportunities, great place to be a sponsor to get in front of more eyeballs. But super excited. I actually have the link in the live stream below, you guys. If you are looking to grab a ticket to the summit this year, 2025, grab it now before they're gone. Do it. We'll see you in Utah.
Yes. All right, shifting gears into the main topic at hand, and that is this article. I don't know what you'd call it. An article, like an ebook. I don't know what you'd really call it.
Yeah, I mean it's from the Senate Finance Committee. I mean it's it's like a memo. I don't know what
like a proposal, a proposal of sorts. Again, right, like. It's more so, I took it more as, making calls for certain things. And it got very specific about our industry. It got into overrides and dollar amounts of overrides.
Yeah.
Commission, like it got really specific. So Senator Ron Wyden is who's kind of listed on it as like the author. Ron Wyden, for those of you that don't know, is an American senator. He's serving for the state of Oregon, your home state.
Thanks for that.
And
I appreciate that.
And he's been
your home state. Your fault, Glenn.
He's held this seat since 1996.
Wow.
So we're talking
term limits,
almost 30 years. Of course, he's a member
That's
of the
absurd.
Democratic Party. Now, so basically, that's who we're talking about right now. Now, interestingly enough, I thought this might be interesting to note. There's an estimate that his net worth is somewhere between $15 and $20 million, depending on the source. Don't math there when it comes to what a senator gets paid. So
I'm probably not too worried about the future of Medicare if you got 20 million in the bank, huh?
right. It's one of those things where it's like, you're doing corrupt things behind the scenes to enrich yourself.
Allegedly.
As I believe allegedly. That's what it appears. And you're putting on this front that you actually give a damn about the little people. Right. That's what this appears like to me. That's kind of seems like this whole guy's MO.
In my opinion, that's like 101 for almost the entire government. In my opinion, is they right, left, center, they all love to do that, right?
Right, absolutely. So
name of this bill is helping feed hungry children, and it's 10,000 pages long, and there's arms sales to foreign countries in it. It's like it's all spin. There's so much spin, but yeah, this is crazy how detailed it got. I'm actually, you said this to me. I didn't have time to go nearly as deep into it as you probably did, but
I have a checklist to go through.
Let's go through this
about what basically is covered, in a nutshell. What have I always said, you guys? I read these things so you guys don't have to.
Thank God for you. Thank God for you.
Okay, so number 1, Medicare Advantage plans are aggressively marketed. Seniors are bombarded with ads, mailers, and calls promoting Medicare Advantage plans, often making the plans sound better than they are. Yes, not as much now. Not as much now, though. I mean, CMS has put out some ruling on that I feel like is greatly kind of taking care of that problem, but maybe I'm wrong about that. I mean, you don't see any of the Joe Namath, Jimmy J.J. Walker commercials anymore. I feel like that was probably a 4 or 5 year ago issue for the most part, but it still happens a little bit. Okay, 2, a web of middlemen drives the marketing. So they're talking about FMOs, of course. They mention FMOs in the document. So it was very final rule-y 2024 to me.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, there's a layered system of marketing firms, lead generators, and brokers working together. Insurance companies outsource marketing to these entities to reach more seniors. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Like legitimately, right? Like,
yeah.
If the argument is there is unethical marketing taking place, okay, focus on that. But what's wrong with like using a marketing company to help you market if you're not good at marketing? Like, what does that have to do with anything?
Marketing should be illegal.
Right. That's basically like where
right.
how this reads to me. 3, profits drive the push. These middlemen are motivated by commissions and bonuses. I think everyone's motivated by what their paycheck is. I don't know. Not necessarily by helping seniors choose the right plan. I don't think that's a blanket statement that I don't believe is true across the board. This leads to biased or misleading information being shared.
So what's interesting, so at the end of the document, there's actually a definition here for an FMO. I'm honestly surprised that final rule wasn't this succinct, right? Like, whether you agree or disagree with this, it's very simple to read, I feel like, compared to the nonsense that was final rule. There was so much legalese and complexities and contradictions in final rule, but this is actually, I feel like the average Joe could pick up this document and read it. But here's really fast, the Field Marketing Organization definition. Field Marketing Organization, or FMO, is an umbrella term meant to encompass entities at the top of hierarchy, in quotations, top of hierarchy, including third-party marketing organizations. FMOs serve as an intermediary between brokers and agents. They employ between brokers and agents they employ and MA plans and provide administrative support to brokers and agents. How do you feel about that definition?
This episode of the Seven Figures or Bust podcast is brought to you by my mini course, How to Find and Buy Books of Businesses. Guys, in 2024, Glenn and I, in our combined company, purchased and acquired through acquisition 900 clients. And over the years, we've purchased thousands of clients to grow our agency internally. And we've learned a thing or two over the years, right? There's certain things you need to look out for. You need to know how to value a book of business. You need to know how to transfer everything, what the expectations are in terms of the timeline. And you need to know how to put a deal together and structure it to protect yourself while still at the same time doing good business with people. Guys, this mini course is around 10 videos long. It's a quick and easy thing to get through. And it's a great way for you to grow your book of business in 2025. Whether you're finding an agent that is maybe been in the business for decades and they want to retire, and then maybe they don't have any kids to take over their business. Maybe you're looking at a situation with an agent that just hasn't been able to make it in the business and they're just looking to go off and try other things. Buying books of businesses can be a great way to quickly and rapidly grow your business fast. And we've unveiled all of the little tools and tricks that you need to know in this training. It's a one-time purchase for only $197. For that price, we're practically giving it away. Make sure to check it out now. Now back to the show. I don't think it's fully complete, but it's more accurate than any definition I've ever seen from CMS.
That's what I would say too. That's actually pretty good compared to most of. Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good.
Yeah. 4 on my list. Misleading advertising is common. Ads and calls may leave out crucial details like network restrictions, drug coverage, and extra costs, causing seniors to enroll in plans that don't fit their healthcare needs. 5, lack of transparency and oversight. Many of these marketing practices operate in a gray area with limited regulation. Limited regulation?
Where?
Can
I go there? Can I go there?
Can I be a part of this other Medicare world that you're describing?
I want to be Mehmet. Where is it? Tell me where it is.
6, seniors often end up confused or misled. The result is that many seniors think they're getting more coverage or benefits than they actually are and don't realize the downsides until it's too late. There's a lot of visual workflows, things like that. The call to action. The piece urges for greater transparency and stricter regulation of Medicare Advantage marketing pipelines. It suggests that policymakers should crack down on misleading ads and high-pressure sales tactics. They've done that. Yeah. I can't stress this enough. This is stuff that's already happened and is largely cleaned up. Require cleaner disclosures to seniors about plan limitations, because that's what we need, more disclaimers and more disclosures. Like, we don't already have 6 of those that have to be put on our email signatures and our websites, right, like in red on calls. Monitor and potentially reform how middlemen are compensated. Final Rule 2024. So first things first, like, what are your thoughts when you read this? Like, this guy seems to be, in particular, in his mind.
So here's the thing. We all know what, like, his perspective, his opinion, right? We all know what Senator Ron Wyden thinks. What I'm most curious about is, what's the traction look like behind this? Do we have any idea what is this? Is this just like a small rogue group of senators that support this, or is this getting traction? There's also a series of recommendations at the end of this document that are pretty telling. Specifically one that talks about what they feel should be the compensation for an MA plan.
Right.
It says a fixed fee should be established for all MA plan enrollments, and they said ballpark $150 to $200 per enrollment, with a inflation rider essentially attached to that number. So, it would tick up a few percent, 35% every year.
That's insanity. When you
It's crazy.
because like if okay, you think about it right now, right? Like what's the MA compensation? Well, like your renewals are probably going to be, depending on your state, between $300 or $400, right? A year. When you think about how much work goes into actually taking care of a client like you're supposed to do, $150 to $200, like you can't stay operational at that
Yeah.
cost. You just can't do it. And I'm sure, a guy like this who's been basically a senator for 30 years next year would not understand that. Doesn't understand profitability, doesn't understand the time. Like for the agencies that are legitimate and the agencies that are doing a good job for their clients, there is a cost associated with servicing them. Hiring
Absolutely.
staff, technology, systems, phone systems, time, right? Can you put a price on the time of taking those calls? It's
This is crazy.
radical.
Did you see they have an NMO down to LOA 1 list? Did you see that? This
sure
is
did.
wild. I did not see how detailed they got with some of this, trying to show kind of the trickle down override effect from this compensation. But again, I think like you're saying there, that's a big I think a big missing piece of this that they don't when they don't understand when it comes to our industry is how it operates like a business. It's not just one company or one agent. They get this one enrollment and now they're getting lifetime value, lifetime renewals without doing any work. The vast majority of these businesses are doing an incredible amount of work, especially from a retention standpoint. We talk about retention all the time. Retention doesn't happen without any work, not anymore.
Absolutely.
Back in the day that used to be the case. But to circle back around to that question, what do you think the other senators are thinking about this? Any ideas?
That's the
Any
thing. I
thoughts?
have no idea.
Yeah.
I tried to dig into that and I couldn't find too much detail on it outside of
Yeah.
outside of this. But like, every time I've ever watched a committee hearing that's related to our industry, like the Oz one was a perfect example. I've watched others in the past before that. And this guy is always like, it's almost like it's an agenda of his to paint insurance agents as slimy snake oil salesmen,
Right.
low lives. And it makes me wonder, like you said earlier, right? Like who's behind the scenes pushing for this? Because this guy, I don't believe for a second that this guy actually gives a crap about anybody. There's some kind of special interest kind of pushing the narrative on this. Who and what and why?
Even and we've done the tinfoil hat thing and we've discussed quite a bit the idea that an insurance carrier would benefit from completely eliminating brokers, completely eliminating independent agents, right? That they could sell direct, not have to pay us compensation. If that was even feasible, then just do it, right? But the reason that we're still being compensated as agents, as brokers, and the reason why I'm still so bullish on this industry and what we're doing is because I don't think it's feasible or even realistically going to potentially happen anytime soon. We're a necessary evil, whether they like us or not. They need us, right? So yeah, I don't understand this type of attack from any U.S. senator. Like, who do you think is going to manage all of these Medicare plans for these beneficiaries? Informing them, making sure they get enrolled, making sure all their claims, all of their questions get answered. CMS isn't going to do all that.
No,
They're not going to be able to call CMS.
they can't do that.
Yeah. Right.
Like you know what comes to mind? I had a situation where a client of ours, it was about 2 or 3 years ago that comes to mind. This is a classic example of what you get when you call CMS. They signed up for, I believe, a Physicians Mutual Medicare supplement with us. So they call into CMS about something. I don't remember why, but they did. And the answer that they got was on CMS told them that they were enrolled in a United Healthcare Medicare supplement plan. They weren't, but it got us thinking like, oh, are they enrolled in another plan that we
Right.
don't know about? Like what's going
Right.
on here? So we spent like hours digging into this. And then, we got screenshots because they were chatting with someone at CMS on the website. And so sure, like it was clear as day, that's what they were being told. So the client thought we put them on the wrong plan and we screwed up because certainly Medicare couldn't, be the one to tell them wrong.
Right.
And then, turned out they never were on that plan. And they reached back out to Medicare, this time by phone. And the response they got was, we thought Physicians Mutual and United Healthcare were the same thing. This is Medicare.
Yeah.
This is what you get. So do you really think Medicare beneficiaries are in good hands dealing with that garbage? These untrained people in people God knows where, hired from God knows where,
Right.
don't understand our industry, don't know the difference between Physicians Mutual and United Healthcare. They're like, we're pretty sure. This is what they said on the phone. We're pretty sure that Physicians Mutual is owned by United Healthcare. That's why we thought that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Physicians Mutual would like to have a word.
Yeah. This was from Medicare, 1-800-Medicare, to one of our clients.
Wow.
Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing
Yeah.
here? Like
Yeah.
every problem that you're listing out in this document gets worse by choking agents to death and getting rid of agents.
Interesting comment from somebody here on the stream, and I'll take a second here and kind of plug Freebie Friday, you guys. Every single Friday, we are giving away typically thousands of dollars worth of prizes, whether that's free leads, free tickets to the summit, free trainings. All sorts of amazing giveaways happen every single week right here in the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Facebook group. All you have to do is comment on one of the live streams. We typically do 4 Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday right here in the group. One comment is one entry. You can enter in up to 4 times if you comment on every single live stream that week. So I appreciate everybody who does comment, and hopefully you get lucky. You get to win something here soon. But there's a comment here that I think is interesting that said, when I read it, this is from Michelle, when I read it, I thought someone in the business had to help write it. What do you think about that?
No doubt. Like, do you think Senator Wyden knows what an MMO is, or you know what I mean? Or an
LOA, like, I'm shocked, especially after how much time we spent going through Final Rule, and it was so incompetent to the industry. This is actually pretty good as far as like industry jargon. I mean, the list of NMO down to LOA is crazy. This is crazy.
A majority of agents don't know what those terms mean.
No, NMO, which RMO. What do you think RMO is?
It's interchangeable terminology that some carriers use versus FMO, right? Like some carriers will say FMO, some carriers will say NMA.
Regional marketing, maybe national, regional, GMO, general marketing.
GMO is an Aetna term.
Oh, did we just? So Aetna helped write this. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. They probably got like a hierarchy level document, and they are basing it off of that.
Yeah, but just so everyone, what do you think? Should we drop the link to this in the comments? Yeah, we'll make sure you guys have access to this so everyone can see what we're looking at. But for those listening, if you're driving, you're listening to this, again, this podcast is available on all platforms. It starts off NMO, RMO, GMO, LMO, then it goes Agent 4, Agent 3, Agent 2, Agent 1, and then it has 7 LOAs. LOA 7, LOA 6, LOA 5, LOA 4, LOA 3, LOA 2, LOA, which is a crazy hierarchy structure if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, same.
I've ever seen one. A 7 LOA hierarchy structure. It's crazy.
I mean, pretty sure LOA just means your commissions are assigned. I don't think that can happen more. It's like okay, in addition to having your commissions assigned, you now have to pay out of your pocket in addition to that per sale.
I'm gonna paste it right now in the comments, you guys. But yeah, that's interesting to think that potentially there's some industry insiders.
Yeah. I mean, it's when this came across my radar, and shout out to Jackie Lacer who sent this to me, brought it to my attention. Our very own Jackie Lacer in the Facebook group. When I read through this, I can't lie, I was bothered. I was disturbed a little bit. Because like it's one of those things where it's like you could make arguments for some of the issues that are being laid out, sure, right? Just like CMS doesn't necessarily always get the problem wrong in what they're trying to diagnose, it's the medicine, it's the prescription of it that ends up being just wild and all over the place. And this doesn't strike me as any different, right? Like,
yeah, more of the same for sure in that sense.
It's a lot more of the same. If anything, I think it's you could make the argument it's more you could make the argument that it's more radical than Final Rule was. 2024. Again, this is just a proposal. It's not even from CMS.
It's a memo. Yeah, it's really just, Senate Finance Committee did some research and then threw some suggestions out there.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's not like this isn't the body that would actually make any changes anyways. Right.
This is an interesting part of it. Offshore call centers.
I saw it. Yeah, I was just reading that.
Several industry experts. So this tells you they are working with people internally in the industry. Several industry experts reported to committee staff that offshore call centers were bad actors employing prohibited tactics, including cold calling and deceptive marketing. Insurer contracts with TPMOs did not regularly address offshore call centers. Some contracts required TPMOs that used offshore call centers to notify the insurer.
Yeah. So again, it's one of those things where, they are not wrong. There are definitely some bad actors out there, right? There's some people who should never be contacting beneficiaries who are some of these offshore call centers. But at the same time, what's the prescription here for? And I didn't see any specific recommendations on that specific topic. It was just something they kind of threw in there. Another interesting one that I saw when kind of glancing through this, it was talking about, let's see if I can find it again here. Here we go. What number is this? There's a letter B next to it, page 29. It says, lead generators supplying TPMOs with consumer information are often buying leads from other lead generators and data aggregators, further complicating oversight. Which is interesting because it's like, yeah, so that was the whole point of one-to-one consent, which, the FTC just threw out the window, right? So it's like, what are we doing if we're trying to circle back on this one? It's interesting. It's interesting to see kind of these problems that they just want to keep readdressing. It's like, okay, I think a lot of us will agree on what some of these bigger problems are, some of these bigger issues are, but what are we actually going to do about it? And how can we come up with a legitimate solution that actually betters the industry?
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you guys this. This dude is not our friend. He does not think that our space is doing any good or that there's any good coming out of what we're doing as agents. One thing I did see is like online is like you can write written requests in to his office. And
just all start sending him stuff.
why not? Start
Yeah.
sending in positive reviews from your clients.
There you go. That's a good
Right?
one.
Every
That's
time you get
not
a
the
positive
direction
review.
I thought you were going. I thought you were going to say
what if every
hate
single
mail.
time you got a positive review from one of your clients, you sent it into his office?
I love that.
Every single time. We might start doing that.
Just set up like an automated
Yeah.
email.
Yeah.
Just bang, bang. Just start. Yeah.
Because
I don't think
because-
that's a bad idea.
You know, like let's say he starts getting flooded with positive consumer reviews. Like, what are you going to ignore that? Probably so. You know, your special interest groups want you to, but yeah, I mean, you know, why not do things like that? You know, we've seen historically in our space positive impacts being made by sending those communications out to senators, you know, and things along that nature. So why not? Right? If you want to do something, if you want to fight back by proving what they're saying is wrong. Or at the very least, not a representation of our industry as a whole. I mean, what Joe Rogan says, how do you combat bad information with better information?
Yep. Absolutely. You know,
And so
sunlight's the best disinfectant. Get it all out there. Interestingly enough, on you know, there's 8 points here as far as recommendations, right? So, you know, 35 pages, 34 pages of, you know, here's some problems, here's some explanation of those problems, and then they do some recommendations. And one of these recommendations bullet points: support unbiased sources of information for beneficiaries, including state health insurance assistance program, SHIP, and
of course.
yeah,
Of course.
Senior Medicare Patrol SMP, and 1-800 Medicare. Yeah, so again, I think that's kind of fascinating. That's very telling in and of itself. This reads to me in almost like the CMS proposal, right? In that sense, where they're going to throw out all sorts of stuff, and not anything here that I think should be super concerning. It feels more of the same, I guess, is really more of my gut reaction, especially coming from this senator. We already were acutely aware of how he felt. You know, if you caught our Dr. Oz episode, we had video clips of him talking. We literally heard it from the horse's mouth. So definitely something to keep an eye on, though, for sure.
I would think if you get to the end of this episode and what you're hearing bothers you, I think what was suggested is a really good course of action. Like, send in
Reach out.
positive customer reviews to his office. Flood them. Because what these people really care about at the end of the day
Votes.
is their votes, donors and votes.
Yep.
Right. So if they got flooded with positive senior reviews, and basically it's being positioned as if, like, you know, you're trying to take my agent away from me.
Trying to take my agent away. Yeah.
You're trying to take my agent away from me.
100%. That's what they're, yeah.
That would probably get some the attention.
Yep.
And so that's what I think you should do. And that's what I think we're going to start doing.
I love it. It's one of those things where it's so easy to sit back when something like this comes out, something from CMS comes out, and, you know, everyone's always like, well, what can I really do about it? I'm just one agent. I can't really do anything. I think something as simple as sending an email, even if it was just one email one time. at least you're taking action, right? I think everyone's voice should be heard. These are publicly elected officials. They're supposed to be representing us. They're supposed to be representing the majority. Let's make sure the majority gets heard on this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a terrific advice. What? Another thing that is interesting is I was under the impression that final rule from last year, we'd hear a ruling on it by the end of this month. And today's the 31st. Today's the very last day of the month. And here we are. We're going into April without knowing what last year's final rule came out first week of April, I believe, right? So we're coming up on the annual anniversary of final rule last year coming out, and we still don't even know if it's going to be completely thrown out, if part of it's going to be kept, if they're going to greenlight all of it. I'm still waiting to hear back on that. That to me is something much more impactful, much more concerning than some senators or at least a senator, very curious to know who else could potentially be involved or supporting this. But this to me just reads like more, I don't know if I want to use the word propaganda, but it's very slanted. It's very biased. And it's coming from someone who we already kind of knew what their opinion was on Medicare and on insurance agents and brokers.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I also think that doesn't mean that you don't push back,
Right.
Our current CMS administrator is a great example. Someone that is against agents and brokers, but has the power and has flex that power a little bit to make our lives difficult. I think we have to do what we can. Senators can be big, they can be big influences on kind of some of how these government agencies act, CMS being no different. So while do I think it's anything to be panicked about? No, but I would be a little bothered and a little concerned. And I think doing what you can do, I think is something that I think if you care about the industry and you care about the space, you care about your career, it's not a bad idea to do what you can.
Another comment on the stream is, who's the lobby group that is against agents? Who's the lobby group for agents? I mean, yeah, that's a great point. And maybe this is something that NABIP, HAFA, some of these groups that are essentially lobbying for agents, maybe they can help get involved with this too. I think this 100% falls into a category of, political action. This is a political adversary against all of us,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of whether you love your fellow agents, right? Obviously, in some ways, we're competition with each other. At the end of the day, we are all on the same team when it comes to political adversaries trying to, essentially eliminate us. Who cares what agency so-and-so across your town is doing if someone gets to drop a nuke on brokers and agents all across the US? It doesn't matter. So in some ways, we have to kind of look beyond that competition layer and realize that we are all fighting for the greater good here. Mm-hmm. And we are all on the same team in many ways. I want to jump into my final thoughts here. We're coming up towards the top of the hour. Again, I dropped the link to the document on the live stream. So if you wanted to actually see, it's about 40 pages, very interestingly written, very, very, again, the idea that someone had the knowledge, either they took the time to really put this together or potentially had some industry insiders help them put this together, I think is very interesting. But yeah, my final thoughts is, again, I don't think for the Chicken Littles out there who are trying to latch onto this and they're like another tally in their column for the industry's ending and get out of Medicare. I just saw a post this morning from someone in one of the groups that said, I want to get out of Medicare. What should I do? maybe that's a Chicken Little agent out there who's latching on to some of the, bad news. And I say that with quotation marks, bad news, and think that they can point to something like this and say, why would I be a Medicare agent? Why would I be a Medicare broker when this whole industry is going away? So someone like a senator who essentially has no direct legislative power over CMS, this has to come from CMS. So you can't read this and look at this and say, oh, they put this together, this is coming out, next month. CMS is just going to take this and copy and paste. That's not how the system works, and that's not something that you should be directly concerned with. However, I do love what Christian said earlier on the stream. I think we should send positive information and information that ultimately contradicts their viewpoint. They have this biased, we had a great episode last Thursday that talked about how insurance agents are portrayed in the media. Portrayed. I can't talk today. But it's interesting to think about. When you think about all the way insurance agents are viewed through the lens of the media, we typically don't have a great resume in the media. We're typically looked at almost as car sales. It's like car sales and then like insurance sales. We're like maybe a notch above. So I do feel like we have a public image problem a little bit, and we all have to work together to kind of combat this.
I agree.
And I think that part of that is, sharing positive information. If it means sending emails to center, whatever we got to do, right? Let's all work together and see if we can't better the industry together. So those are my final thoughts, you guys. Again, I don't think this is time to panic by any means, but Christian, final thoughts on today's episode and specifically the document here from the Senate Finance Committee.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Glenn said. I don't think it's code red by any means. The Titanic probably isn't about to break in half, and half goes down, the other half bobs for a few minutes, and then it goes down and sucks Jack and Rose down with them. And then
the number of Titanic references on the pod, incredible number.
And then, of course, they find a piece of floating driftwood that could fit them both. Rose selfishly prevents Jack from getting on. He dies. We all know the story. But I do think when these voices come up, I do think it's a positive thing for us to do to try to combat the narrative in the most appropriate ways that we can. Be informing your, HAFA and NBIP, your local chapters and people that in those organizations about these things, and support them
Yes.
in what they're doing.
Yes.
Specifically HAFA. Renelle seems like she's just extremely active, and we need to get her on the pod.
We do.
Renelle, if you're watching this, reach out. I'd love to book you on the pod. But yeah, I mean, I think, is it code red? No, but something to pay attention to, something to take some action where it makes sense.
For sure.
Anyway, guys, that's my final thoughts on this episode. Appreciate you guys watching all the way to the end, episode 81. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on any platform that allows you to do so, YouTube being one of them. Rumble as well. For those of you that are watching on Rumble.
Our huge Rumble audience.
Make sure to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We certainly would appreciate it. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Here's to your massive success. And see you next time.